What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and in today's episode of the fighting game tutorial series, we are going to be going over Achievements and Trophies Part 3. In this episode specifically, we're going to be setting up the structure for our achievements, creating a data table so that we can fill out all the information for each achievement, and then displaying it properly in the profile instead of just generic achievement text like we had previously in the series. So you see here we have the name of the achievement, the description of the achievement, the icon of the achievement, and we'll even be able to change the banner or the background of the achievement as well. That's what we're going to be covering for today's episode. Now if you want to get caught up in the series, before checking out this episode so you can see how we've done everything from our combat, our online functionality, AI, all that fun stuff, I'll link you to the playlist right here in the top right corner so that you can see everything we've done in the fighting game tutorial series. Alternatively, if you're only interested in the achievements and trophies, you don't have to follow the rest of the fighting game tutorial to implement this behavior. But I do recommend you watch part 1 of Achievements and Trophies, since all the logic for the achievements is building off of that and the subsequent episodes. So I'll link that right here in the top right corner of the screen. With that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. It's a code and blueprint tutorial series. We're going to be setting up our behavior and structure in the code today. We're going to make the data table within the editor, and then we're going to edit our widget to take in that data. So it's going to be a mix of code and blueprints. Starting off, let's go to the code. In here, we want to find some structure or some method of tracking what an achievement actually is and what an achievement needs. So again, it needs that name, that description, that icon, that background. And previously in the series, we were actually just copying those values between all of our widgets, but we actually want to have a structure that contains all that information. A good place for this is the base game instance.h. So in base game instance.h, I'm going to scroll down and make a new structure. So I'm going to make mine right here. So use struct blueprint type. This means that we can see this structure in the blueprints. Struct f achievement public f table row base. F is the common prefix for structures because F stands for flexible in this context. So F achievement, and I make it a child of F table row base. That way we can make a data table out of it. The data table is absolutely not necessary. So we have a lot in this series. One is F unlockable items. So all the unlockable items from stages, characters, game settings, outfits. I made that derived from the F-table row base because other people that aren't developers can easily access and edit a data table, and you can also edit a data table at runtime. It's also incredibly quick. So data tables are very useful, but you don't need to use them to fill out your data. A good example of not using them is our news entry. So we have these news entries or these patch notes entries that we can display to the users. I don't have that deriving from the F-table row base, which means I can't make a data table out of it. Now that's perfectly fine. Again, I don't need to. So you have to decide whether you want to use data tables or not. In this case, I am using them, so anyone can come in here and make achievements for the game easily. They don't have to go into the code, compile, any of that stuff. But feel free to ignore the data table part and just do it in your code if you're more familiar with that. Like all of our structures in Unreal, called generated body, and I put the public keyword here just so that I can access and edit all these variables in the blueprints with my U properties. So I have 4 variables in here for today. I have a name, a description, an icon, and a background. And these are the ones that we defined earlier in the series. So name is the name of the achievement. Description is the description of the achievement, basically what it takes to unlock the achievement. Icon is the actual image for the achievement or the badge that you get. And then background is the banner or the background of the achievement. These are all U property of edit anywhere, blueprint read write with a category of achievements. These just allow us to edit them in the blueprints, and the category allows us to find these variables easily. Name is an F text, description is an F text. You could also use strings here. Text are good for localization though. If you want to change these based on different languages and things like that, then F text makes it easier. The icon and background are U-textured 2D pointers. U-textured 2D can be used for a lot of things, but in this case we're just really using it so that we have an image. In this case, our images are textures, and you can see that when we're in the editor. Any image you import will say texture. So this is our structure for achievements. Now, if you do want to do the data table method, we're going to go into the editor, and that's what I'm doing for today's episode, so I'm going to launch the editor. If you want to do it like the news entries, you would go to the constructor of the base game instance and update your values here. Alright, now we're back in the editor. So the first thing we want to do in here is make our data table. So I have a section in Blueprints Library BPs where I have all my data tables, so loading tips, mutant command data, mutant hitbox data, and unlockable item data. I'm making a new data table here called achievement data. And to do this, I can go to Add, Miscellaneous, Data Table. This works in UE4 and UE5. And when you select this, it's going to ask you to pick a row structure. Basically, what are we filling out in this data table? We're going to want to pick our achievement structure. This is the structure we made in the base game instance. And once you do that, it will ask you to name it. I called mine achievement data. Once you have it created, go into it, and you'll get something that looks like this. When you come in here, you won't have any rows, but you should see row name, description, icon, and background, because those are the variables that we set up in our structure. You can press add right here to add individual rows. I kept it to just 2 right now. We are going to be adding plenty throughout the series, but for now 2 is good enough for proof of concept. So add twice, and then we have row name. This is just going to say row name and then row name _1. I always right click on the row and select rename and then change this. You don't have to do that. You can leave the name of the row default. It's up to you. I like to make the row name the index because we have 1 and 2 here on the left side. This is the internal data ordering of it, but I like to make the row name the index, right? Starting at index 0, then index 1. You don't have to do that. It's good for if we ever want to loop and figure out what index we're actually at in the data table. And we've actually used it a few times throughout my different series, so you might be familiar with what I'm talking about. Click on the row when you actually want to edit the data, and at this point you can fill out all the information. So for the name of the achievement, you can put whatever you want. I called my first one Welcome to the Fighter. For the description, I put it as load up the game and reach the main menu for the first time. For my icon, I just chose an icon that I already had for my input buffer, which is the light attack icon. And for the background, I picked my pop-up background, which is actually what happens when the input device gets disconnected, say if I disconnect my controller. Of course, pick whatever name, description, icon, and background you want. I did make my other one, which I just called Match Player, play one match in any mode, my block icon with my character select background. At this point, I have my data table for my achievements. So next I want to go into my achievement list widget. So if I go to Blueprints, Widgets, Menus, Achievement List, this is what shows up in the profile screen when we navigate over to the Achievements tab. Since before this episode we didn't actually have a structure to fill out this information, or an actual list of our achievements, like with the data table, I just manually had 2 achievements in here, a left achievement tile and a right achievement tile. Now these are just placeholders. We should really make this menu dynamic, just like our command list, our store menu, and a lot more. For today's episode, I am just going to replace the information in these 2 achievement tiles with the information from the data table as proof of concept. We will be updating this behavior in the near future to take out the placeholders and actually fill it in with the proper amount of items from the data table. So just be aware of that. But I have my left achievement tile and my right achievement tile. So now we want to go into the graph. There was nothing in here before, so I'm going to add event construct so that when this achievement list widget is created, we do this behavior. It might look like a lot, but it's really not. Basically what we're doing is just grabbing the data table row from the specific value and setting the fields on the left achievement tile, and then doing the same thing for the right achievement tile. This logic is mainly temporary because we want to make sure that this is more dynamic, but this is actually what we are going to be doing in the long run. The only difference is we're going to be creating a new achievement tile and passing the data in as we go. For today's episode, let's just do get data table row and select our achievement data table and start with row name 0. Drag off of out row and type break to break the achievement structure. That's how we get these 2 nodes here. Then we're going to take our left achievement tile from the achievement list widget, and we're going to drag off of it and set all of our fields. So set achievement name, and we're going to pass in the name from the broken structure. We only want to do this if the row was found, because otherwise we won't have this information and we will get an error. So left achievement tile, achievement name comes from the name. Left achievement tile, achievement description comes from the description. These ones are pretty self-explanatory. Now let's handle the icon. So we drag off of our left achievement tile, type set, not name, not description, but set achievement icon. And we want to right click on the slate brush structure and split the struct pin, which results in us having an image. The textured 2D or the icon can go directly into that image. And that's what we're doing here. So these nodes are setting the name, the description, and the icon. The background isn't involved in this yet because we never actually set up the background on the achievement tile widget. The achievement tile widget is just this. It's the actual setup of what the achievement tile looks like. The achievement list is the actual menu that's listing them all. We can add background in here, but let's skip that for now. Let's make sure that we have this working before we go to the background. Now, just setting these variables isn't enough, because if we go into achievement tile and look at the graph, time in which this data was set, so the name, the description, and the icon, they were all set during event construct because we were creating the widget and passing this data into it right away. That's actually still going to be what we need in the long run, but for today's episode, for testing this out, I want to just be able to call update achievement info, since we're not creating new achievement tiles and instead using the two placeholders on the achievement list widget. So going back to the achievement tile widget right here, we want to go above event construct, type add custom event, and call it whatever you want. I called mine update achievement info. I plugged it into the exact same nodes that the event construct has. So basically this event does the same as event construct. This one, however, we are going to manually call when we're ready to update the data. If we go back to the achievement list now, we can also call this event once we've set all of our required fields. So left achievement tile, drag off of it, call update achievement info. And that's how we get all of this right here. At this point, you can copy all of this and paste it right after, because we're going to be doing the same thing for our other achievement in our data table. So get data table row achievement data, but this time we're going to use row name 1 instead of 0. We break the achievement structure, and instead of using the left achievement tile, we're going to use our right achievement tile this time. To drag that here, get it. Drag off of this and type set achievement name, and then pass in the name from the structure, description, then pass in the description from the structure, and icon. But remember to split the struct pin so that we can pass the icon directly into the icon image. Once you've done all three of these things, we want to make sure we update the visuals. So we want to drag off of right achievement tile and call update achievement info. And that's how you get everything in this widget. Once you have everything in there, you will be able to see your new achievements and what they look like within the profile screen. That's how you can update your profile and your achievements to follow a more standardized method, and we can get closer to actually unlocking achievements in our game. If you enjoyed this episode and it helped you make achievements, then please subscribe. It does more for myself in the series than anything else you can do, and that's completely free. If you want to support the channel and get some extra benefits by doing so, then I recommend you check out the Patreon, YouTube membership, and Discord subscriptions. If you ran into any problems with your achievements while following this episode, or any problems while following any of my episodes, feel free to join the Discord community. I would be happy to help you out. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Goodbye.